What's going on, guys? This is the Conner Rueca Show. You guys already know how this is going to work. 30-minute fast chat with experiences on experiences. It's going to be my experiences, going to be experience of other high-level operators. And we don't usually share the fluff. We don't do the long bios. We're really here to educate and help the people that are actually listening, help them implement and leave them with action steps that they can use today and even be like super hyped about implementing. So, guys, I have Moody Hassan, also Moody Hassan, with us. And newsflash, guys, every guest that I do bring on today and in the future, they're already winning in business. I've talked to them. I've seen their businesses. I've explored deep conversations to make sure that they're actually real. And that's what you guys can entrust in me when you guys jump on these types of videos. Okay. Today we have Moody Hassan. He's out of Connecticut with MJY and Associates. He runs a well-oiled real estate wholesaling and investing business. They do all types of deals and they're direct to seller. And they're also a user of Closer Control CRM. So good to have you, brother. Why don't you tell the listeners really quickly your elevator pitch of who they will be learning from today?
www.realestate. Majority of our deals are flips. We flip from novate, occasional wholesales. Right, usually our spreads are way too nice to really wholesale unless we're spread too thin, which is very rare. I've been doing this for 7 years. Really streamlined it in the last 2.5 years. But yeah, it's very exciting. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. First thing I wanted to ask you, Moody, was what does like the real estate game actually look like in your perspective, in your scope right now in your business? What does the market look like?
It's not a bad market. Like, I mean, I think there's going to be a recession this year, like 20%, maybe anywhere from 12 to 20%. Will kind of due for a retracement in price value. Right, I think it's all over the state. Connecticut is a little bit special with what's kind of going on in and around it. Right, with a lot of people moving into Connecticut from New York and New Jersey. Right, but also with the shortage of homes that we actually have and whatnot. So it's an interesting market where you might see that recession a little bit later than some of the other markets in the United States. But I do think that we're aiming for some kind of retracement in value, like I said, between 12 to 20%, at least after the spring.
What does the recession even mean in the eyes of like a direct to seller investor?
I use that word very lightly because it's probably going to be more of a retracement. But like if it was a recession is when homes drop, people are scrambling to get out of their loans and selling their properties. Prices of homes are dropping down. People want to sell as fast as possible to get out from the nutshell that they're in. That's what I see a recession in, right? Where banks are like pushing for better loans and trying to get the people to buy property a lot easier and a lot faster and whatnot. That's what a recession looks like in my eyes. But I don't think we're going to see a recession. I think we're going to see more of a retracement. I should have chosen better language there, but definitely a retracement.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been in the game for around 4 years. I've kind of been in the storm that's, you know, been going on the last 4 years in terms of real estate. So you're saying it might drop a little bit more in terms of value and also just action. What is like the buyer behavior in that moment? Because at the end of the day, wholesalers will always be able to find good deals. There will be discounted properties out there. There will be great houses to buy because we go direct to seller. But what do we have to look at on the buyer side for us to be ready for this retracement?
I mean, it depends on what kind of buyer you're looking for. If you're looking at a traditional on-market buyer, right, you're looking for someone with strong history, right, and has those pre-approvals already in place, right, has been shopping around, really has the necessity to buy, and is actually, what's the right word for it, actually is reasonable what they're looking for and how fast they can move. For an investor, you're probably going to be looking for someone that isn't brand new, right? You're looking for someone that's a little bit more seasoned that understands that, hey, properties are going to still sell during that time because people need places to live, right? It's just about, okay, like how long has their experience been in the market? What's the threshold? How many projects they were doing when it wasn't during a retracement? But you're going to see a lot of those buyers kind of buying heavy, right? Because the wholesalers and the people that direct the sellers are going to get deeper discounts than we're getting now because everybody understands we're in a retracement. So those homeowners are going to be like, oh, well, the market is shit. I need to sell, right? They're more
Yeah.
open to taking lower margins, right, on their profits when it comes to selling their home, right, than in the market that we're in right now.
Excellent. So really nothing changes. If anything, it's a huge opportunity for us wholesalers and people with closing control and people out there doing their own deals to just get way better deals.
Yeah, I think so. Right. I think it's just going to be a good market for investors to buy, especially people that are looking to hold. I think that's going to be a sweet spot for them,
Mm.
right? Because they're going to get, again, lower entry points, again, higher cash on cash return, higher cap rates on their properties. Because again, the rents are not going to change, right? Rents are going to stay the same, right? The properties are already rented out. Assuming rents are probably going to go higher because people are going to elect to buy to rent over buying at that point, right? So those investors, those long-term holders, are people that are looking to force equity into properties, is going to be a great time for them because they're buying it for such a discount than they would have bought it 6, 12, a year, 2 years ago, right, and whatnot. So it's going to be an interesting market.
That is going to be super exciting for sure. In your market specifically, I'm not talking nationwide. I think nationwide, if I ask this question nationwide, it's just going to be too big of an answer. But in your market alone, when you say retracement, does that mean this is going to be the lowest the prices or the average home price will be in the last 7 years? I would say, in your experience.
Oh no, I'll be honest with you. That's a tough question to answer because I think it's going to be the lowest in the last maybe 2 years. And I mean, I
Okay.
don't know about 7 years. 7 years is a broad time, right? Because like you're gonna I have to go back and take a look at 7 years from now, right?
Yep.
But when I'm usually looking, I'm looking at the last 2 years, right? And then kind of keeping an eye. It's like trading in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Looking at the trend line and whatnot, and you can have a good guesstimate of where it's gonna go and whatnot. Everything is just like stocks, it's the same shit, different toilet, honestly, in my books, But yeah, it's definitely gonna be lower, right, from last year and the year before that for sure.
Yeah. In my 4 years of wholesaling, I actually never looked at like buyer's market, seller's market, downturn, upward in terms of like market values. We kind of just said, hey, we have to spend this amount of marketing dollars to hit these KPIs and we should be making money. And it worked out that way. But obviously, like you're saying, for an investor that's willing to hold, there's a lot more strategy to play. But if we're talking straight to direct to seller wholesalers, has that ever even played a role in your strategy in terms of like whether the market's going up or down?
Not really. It more of just kind of like, here's the thing, right? It doesn't matter, right? In a sense, right? Because in the end of the day, the people that this is the way for flippers and home holders, right, to make their money for their kids and their family, and it's how they put food on their table, right? I think the only way it ever affected kind of my outlook is which buyer am I reaching out to? You know what I mean? Am I reaching out to someone who's, hey, it's my first time in the market, or hey, this is my first deal? Probably not. But hey, you're talking to Mo Schmo here that's been doing it for 4 to 7 years, 12 to 20 years, has went through the '08 crash, has went through the COVID crash. Okay, that's my guy, right? He
Yeah.
knows what the heck is going on. You know what I mean? So giving that guy a call, he's buying. You know what I mean? Is it going to be under different criteria? It's probably right. But if we stay with the numbers, right, and we make sure we take a look at comparables that's happened in the last 90 days, half a mile radius, and factoring in, okay, prices are dropping. This is what we're seeing, having a keen eye. Okay, cool. You're still going to be able to make a deal happen. You know what I mean? It's just, hey, are you conscious enough about what's going on in and around you to make sure that happens?
Cool. How many employees are under you right now, or how many people work with you at MJY and Associates?
So we just added two more cold callers as of last week. So we're at 7 cold callers, one QA QC, one operations on the cold calling side. So that's what, 9 right now. Myself, my partner, 10, 11, and then 2 people in house. Right, we let go of 2 people. So now we're at what? It's 9, 10, 11,
13.
12, 13. Yeah, but we need to do it. It's too low. Like, it's too low, especially
Yeah.
for the in-house support. Like, bro, I'm running around majority of the times. I'm making shit happen, so I need that extra oomph. You know what I mean? That person. A couple more right-hand guys. You know what I mean? That have some balls. To take
You
it to
would,
the next level.
our in-house guys, those are salespeople.
Yeah, those are my acquisition guys. 'Cause, like, it's so
Cool.
important, right? Like, I can only be in one place at one time. You know what I mean? My partner is the same way, you know what I mean? And, like, my calendar is already full for the next week and a half. It's so hard, you know what I mean? And I trust my guys, don't get me wrong, right? But I need more guys that I can trust to be like, "Alright, cool. I need to do work on the operations side, run out to my appointments, and I know they're coming back in contracts," you know what I mean?
If you guys are in the Connecticut area for the listeners or in that area and can help out Moody and MJY. I'm gonna put like all of his information in the comments and stuff like that in the caption, so you guys can reach out to him. But okay, so like my next question, the reason I ask for employees is I want to see how big your team is, and it sounds like you have around 5 to 6 guys in the office, maybe a little bit less, but in that kind of atmosphere, you have a big team. There's more than a couple people that you're paying out when a deal is done. What are the actual money making activities for you in the business? Because you're probably not doing all the admin stuff or the TC stuff. Maybe you are, but like, what are you actually doing to bring revenue in?
So, the TC stuff is important, right? I do majority of it myself, right? Because, like, you have to make sure, especially when you're acquiring something, talking between the lender, right, and making sure that the attorneys are on the same page. To having the seller communicate with their attorneys, because we're in an attorney state and everybody has to have their own attorneys. Technically don't, but I just like to have all everybody's own attorneys just so there's no conflict of interest. That's super important to make sure that's streamlined properly. The money making activities for me is jumping on the phone with people that are ready to go. Like, if you're ready to go and you're hot, like, I need to be talking to that person yesterday, right? Because that's how opportunities slip through fingers, right? And when opportunities slip through fingers, revenue runs out, right? That's one. The second thing is always looking at marketing, right? Where's our budget going? Where can we increase? Where can we take out? Is our monthly spend too little, too much versus the return that we're making, and whatnot. So it's super important. You know what I mean? Like, our goal this year is a $4.5 million business just on the MJY side, right? With the brokerage, we're looking to be at another 4.5 million. So we're looking to do $9 million in both business this year and just net revenue, which is doable, right? I mean, this so far we have 600,000 just on MJY side closing or hitting the market and going to be anticipated to close before June. That's fantastic, right? So the whole game here is to keep that pipeline steady at 500,000, right? With like wham, wham, wham,
Yeah.
wham, 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 right? So the money activities for me is to get on those phone calls, right, and close those sons of guns, and then also making sure that the money is being spent correctly.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. So time is super valuable. Even I have trouble finding time to fit spontaneous things into my schedule. I literally every single Sunday I schedule out my whole week because I have to. That schedule that I plan out on Sunday is going to get me to the goal I want to hit. It's going to get you to, for me, if I was in your shoes, it would get me to that 9 million by the end of the year. Right. So how do you make sure as an operator to get yourself as much time as possible to be in that seat to make the calls? And at the same time, what happens before for that seller lead for him to be ready when you're ready at your seat? I don't know if that was a crazy question, but
That's a
work with it.
No, that's actually a really good question, right? So it's like my schedule is a 12 to 12, right? 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday through Sunday, right? Working every day of the week, unless I'm going to go on a snowboarding trip, and that's going to take 4 hours. But you bet as hell if that calls, I'm taking up that fucking call. You know what I mean? But like for me, I'm planning my next week starting Sunday, where it's like, okay, like between 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., right? I'm making phone call conversations and appointments. Now,
Wow.
I'm either at an appointment or I'm making a phone call. I'm doing something, right? Unless I'm taking my occasional dinner or just taking a quick break and sitting outside and having a smoke or something of that nature. But but that time is being spent drilling that phone because there isn't enough phone calls to be made during the day, right? And during the week, like you just gotta keep going and going. Like, it's like it's super important. That's why having more people doing those calls and me doing the same thing just only increases the opportunities that we have on our desk. So for me, it's just like, okay, cool. At the end of the day, planning out that next day in the sense of, okay, what's the framework that I have to go through? Who do I have to reach out? What deals do we have to dispo? What time am I dispoing those deals, right? I usually like to send them out fresh and early in the morning, right? If it's something that we're going to wholesale, if it's going to be something that we're going to flip, we're sending it out to our lender. Be like, hey, take a look at it. Tell me what time you're planning to go. Okay, fantastic. Let me facilitate that around 12 o'clock in the afternoon and get back on my call schedule. Attorneys, with attorneys, I always talk to my attorneys either in the beginning of the day or at the end of the day when everything is just quiet, and whatnot. And then a big thing is just kind of listening back to what happened during the day. Like Dylan does a really good job and gives me an end of the week report every week. So I go through that every Saturday, Sunday. Be like, okay, cool. That's what happened on the cold calling side. What can we tweak? What can we switch out? I call him every day to be like, okay, what's going on today? How did everything go? Okay, cool. Let's work on this. What can we do better? What do you think? You know what I mean? So it's more of like facilitating certain things and making sure certain things are on the path where it has to go, right? So you can just be like, okay, cool. All the fuzz is out the way. Let me just focus on the money making activity and jump on that call. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're optimizing for talk time, which is exactly what most operators need to do. You guys need to be as much on the phones as possible until you hit that threshold where, like, okay, maybe you can hire 3 to 5 salespeople and train them, and you're optimizing for training time. Like for me right now, I'm blessed with 4 brothers, so a lot of stuff gets done faster. Less food is on each of our plates to handle. And right now, we just invested 24,000 into a B2B SaaS mentorship. And I'm the lead on that. So right now, what everyone is doing is we're optimizing for Connor to have as much time to learn from the program to bring it back and, implement. So like that's how should look like on all operators and in all business. Like mine's a B2B SaaS. Yours is a real estate investing and wholesaling business, right? We need to optimize for the money making activity. Super cool. My next question is, okay, you're talking about looking at marketing. I believe that most wholesalers miss this. For, I would say, around 2.5 years of our 4 years of experience wholesaling, we missed that. We were just spending money because we trusted our systems or trusted the brotherhood to get the job done. And by the grace of God, it worked. But I can't imagine if all 4 years we were looking at every single dollar being spent, looking how much each average contract was or average contact or conversation, how many offers did we need to make to close the deal. I wish we tracked all of that, but we missed it all for a very long time. What are the rule of thumbs for you when it comes to marketing? And I'm talking about, if this happens, we need to move, or if this happens, we need to shift, or if this happens, we need to have a conversation. What are some of those rule of thumbs?
So you got to divide it into inbound and outbound, right? Inbound for us, it's costing probably the cold caller is probably costing us $450 per week. Dialer so you do 450 times 4. Let's do the math. Let's have some fun here.
It's like
So
1,700 or something like that, or 1,800 maybe.
450 times 4, 1,800 plus 250 for a dialer seat. A list of 10,000, multiplying that by 0.3, 10,000 record by 0.03, right? Times 0.03 is 300. So we're adding 300 to 2,050. That's 2,350. So, and then multiplying that by 7, right? 16,450. Right, and then you're also adding your QA/QC, which is another 1,900, and then you're adding Dylan, which is 2,500. Right, so we're spending 20,850 on the cold calling side. Right, that cold calling side should bring, on average, 6 to 8 leads per day. So let's just say 6 leads per day. Multiply that by 7 cold callers. It's 42 leads per day. Multiply that by 5. That's 120, right? Multiplying.
Are they calling 7 days a week?
5 days a week. That's why we multiply it by 5.
Okay, cool.
We're looking at 840 leads, right, per month that are coming in, right? What we're
Wow.
looking for is 20% of those to be hot, right? So if you
Okay.
multiply that by 20%, you're looking for 160 of those to be hot to be converted in the next 6 months, right? That's the name of the game, right? You're not going to do all that, right? Now, you're probably going to anticipate doing something in the next 6 months, right? With at least 25% of that. So multiply that by 25%. Right. So if 42, so what we're looking for is 42 of those to convert either onto the brokerage side, the wholesale side, the flip side, the novation side, something. Right. And the revenue from that, if we're looking per lead, right? Let's say 40, let's say we divide that by 4. So we're looking at 10, right? 10 of those multiply that by, let's say at a minimum of 25,000, right? 10 of those. So we have to make $250,000 per month, right? For that to make sense, right? So we're looking to 10x the money that we spend on the outbound side, right? If that makes sense, right? So
No, it does.
if it doesn't make us at least in 4 months $250,000, something's going on. We have to check what's going on into the business, right? So so let's divide that by 4, right? That means per month we have to make 62,500. If we're not making 62,500 per month on the outbound side, there's something wrong. Go back, fix it. It's either the script, the dialer, DMDs, leads, lead source when it comes to our data. Maybe the cold callers are off. QAQC isn't doing her job the right way. She's not qualifying them the right way. So we have to push at certain ways to make sure that we're making 62,500. Right now, when it comes to the PPC side, we're expecting to see our budget right now is 12,000 per month. 12,000 per month. We're looking at least, so if it's 5 days a week, we're looking at 2 to 3 leads per week. 3 leads per week, multiply that by 4, right? That's 12, right? That's 12 leads per month that we're supposed to be getting. Multiplying that by another 4 per quarter, we should gain 48 leads from those guys, right? We're anticipating out of those to have a higher conversion rate of 70%, right? So multiply that by 70%. That's 33.6. Divide that by 4, right? We're looking to turn at least 8 of those into something per month. Does that make sense?
Out of how many leads total? You said out of 40 leads total?
48.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if you have all the exit strategies. Yes.
Yeah, it has to, right? Those cost about $650 per lead, or yeah. So we're spending per month on those leads. We should be spending 5,460, right? With those leads, our margins are a lot higher, right? We're looking at 50 to 60,000, right? So if we take 8.4, multiply that by 50,000, we're looking to make 420,000 off of those, which is very acquirable, right? Because like we had a flip that we locked up, right, from their $125,000 clip, right? Another wholesale, right, 17,000, right? Another a fucking flip came out from that one, 60,000, right? We're ramping up on that side of things. Don't get me wrong. So we're not at those numbers yet. We're not anticipating to be at those numbers for another 4 months just because the PPC is newer for us, right? But so far, I mean, they do a great job, right? They're doing a great job where we're getting maybe 2 leads per week, right? Or 3 leads per week, right? That budget, especially with an account that's slowly being seasoned, it makes complete sense. So like that's what's going to get us to that $4.5 million, up to $9 million overall for 2 companies, right? By using that budget, and that budget is not cheap, right? It's $32,500.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that we're spending.
Super interesting. For those listening, yeah, per month. That's insane. For those listening, guys, this is how deep it gets when it comes to marketing. And if you can really master it, you guys can have the confidence that Moody and his team has in these leads. I mean, dude, they're spending you said $40,000 a month on just 2 marketing channels. That's insane. Did you say 40?
32,500,
32.
32,500 multiplied by 12 months. That's 390,000 in marketing per year. That's not
Insane.
adding CRM. That's not
No.
adding softwares. That number probably could be very, very close to, I don't know, maybe like
So
four, 400,000.
I have a huge question. So I I heard this from someone, but I believe it myself as well, that the companies that are spending the amount of money that you guys, comparable to you guys truly focus on the hot leads like you're talking about. And in some way, you guys obviously have close control of the CRM. That's going to pick up a lot of deals that kind of get left behind. But you guys don't really focus that much on the cold leads at all. Maybe not even warm. Like you guys are truly focusing on the hot. Is that true?
No.
You guys are focusing on it all.
Like it's so important to have all those conversations. I'm so thankful for the AI bot. I'm so thankful for the prompts because it picks up on stuff that I don't pick up on, right? But it's super important to have those consistent contacts because you never know why someone is not hot. Maybe the cold caller didn't talk to them the right way, right? Maybe they just need someone else to have that conversation, right? Because everybody is picking up that phone and spending more than 4 minutes on that call, right? Matter of fact, I'm lying. Anybody that's spending more than a minute and a half on that call, there's something going on there where they're interested. You just gotta figure it
All
out.
right.
You know what I mean? And it's all about either you're putting high pressure or you're putting subconscious high pressure on that person, or you're just making a friend with them. I personally just like to make friends with people, right? So it's like I'll talk to you like as if you're a homie that we just met all over again, or someone that's brand spanking new that just needs to talk to someone. Okay, what's going on in your world? Talk to me about that. Everybody's talking to me about selling, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now you know their objection. Hey, I'm not even calling you about selling. I'm calling you about why you picked up that phone call and what your goals are so I can help you get there. You know what I mean? Still talking about selling in a sense, right? Subconsciously, right? But it's like a different angle, right? And those open up the conversations like no tomorrow, right? Per day, I have at least 40 follow-ups plus the calls that are coming in. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
it's like, it's a lot. Dude, it's fucking a lot. And I'm behind
Yeah.
today on my follow-ups. It's insane. Like I'll show you the CRM. I have red, 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 orange, red, red. I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? I'm behind. You know what I mean?
What's the discernment on all these follow-ups that you have to take? Like how do you know, or like what's your filter to like talk more? Because I know some wholesalers that are really good and they will have like 30-minute average conversations, and I tell them they're crazy, but they bring in 60, 70K a month in revenue. I'm like, that's really good for a wholesaler. I'm not going to tell you stop doing that. I know some wholesalers who are like, I'm not spending more than 5 minutes on a call. I have way too many leads. I'm spending too much on marketing. Anything more than 5 minutes is going to hinder us. We need to jump to the next conversation. What is the discernment on your side to actually continue having a valuable conversation with someone, or even
Listen,
like rapport building?
relationships are going to get you further every single time. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I get it. It's super important, right? The cost per minute, right? I throw that right out the window, right? Some people tell me
Interesting.
it's stupid, right? Some people tell me it's really stupid, right? And I get it. It makes sense that it could be really stupid. But for me, it's like building that rapport with every single person, right? That I get on the phone with because they're going to remember that conversation, right? They're going to be like, oh, holy smokes. Because you got to think about it like this. If one single homeowner, matter of fact, I'm not even gonna say one single homeowner. If majority of homeowners that you jump on the phone with, they're telling you, you called me, I didn't call you. I get so many phone calls, right? Like I wish my phone stops just ringing. You're assuming that after your call, they're going to get another 2 to 3 calls. The next day, they're going to get five. The next day after that, they're going to get five. And it's going to just keep on going and going and going and going. How does that person remember you
Yeah.
if they're not ready to sell now, right? Or if they're ready to sell now, if they're accepting offers, right? What's going to make you stand out further than the other person that you talk to that they talk to on the phone for them to take your offer? And sometimes your offer might be lower, right? Why should they take your offer, right? Because like at the end of the day, people don't do business with people that they don't like. Point blank period. Doesn't matter how much money, right? I just signed a deal yesterday, right? That we are wholesaling today, right? Because I was not taking that down. It's too much, right? But the person had a competing offer against my offer, right, of $2,000. The other person was $2,000 higher, right?
Wow.
Person person called me. He's like, you know what? We're going to take your offer. I said, you're not going to. You need to sell this. You're going through the force. Why aren't you taking the other 2,000? He's like, well, I just don't trust that guy. Reason why he doesn't trust that guy is the guy does not give a flying rat squirrel, but whatever it is, right? Doesn't give a rat about that person or their situation or divorce or what's going on in their world. So then they're like, why am I gonna go with that person? Because already in their mind they don't trust them, right? So they're like, oh, if I don't trust them, then something is gonna happen during closing. We all know something's always happening in closings, right?
Uh,
But they're gonna rather go with the person they trust, sacrifice $2,000 because there's a higher probability and not too many things are going to go wrong in closing. At least you have that person to cry on their shoulder or be like, hey, like, what's going on? You know what I mean? What's happening? And when shit goes south, because always something goes south, right? They're not going to be on your back like, oh my God, you told me this. Oh, hey, what's going on? Hey, let's talk about this. What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, okay. Take your time.
So interesting. Guys, what we just heard is someone that's spending around $32 to $35,000 in marketing, and he's spending time with every seller lead. Very, very interesting. You hardly hear that, and that probably is what sets you apart, and that's why you're so successful. All right, we did hit the 30 minutes. This is pretty crazy because it went by super fast. I'm going to drop two questions on you, and I think this is a good way to end it. List really quickly, what are your exit strategies?
Wholesaling, purchasing and flipping, novations, and all market.
Take one of them away
Wholesaling,
that you can't do.
wholesaling.
Okay, so you would run the other three plays if you could, like if you couldn't wholesale, wouldn't be a big deal. Okay, what are the two best options out of the three?
Novations and flips.
Okay, how do you decide whether you should novate or whether you should flip?
Novation is more on the personal side with the homeowner, where they need more help to get to that exit, right? If they need a higher number, right? Or if they just don't know what the hell they're doing with life, right? And they need that person to get them to that next level. That's novation. A flip, price makes sense. They need to get out fast. They just want cash. They don't do a rat's ass about everything else. They can figure it out now.
But which one, how do you decide whether, oh, okay, so you're saying if it's that situation, then you're going that route.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no really numbers to it at all?
So, like, in a sense, yes and no, right? With novation, let's say, for example, a novation, if they're okay, if we're looking at numbers strictly, novation is if they're looking from anywhere from 75 to like 90% on the dollar, right?
So they're really high.
Yeah, and there's not a huge rehab where you're still making a 10% return, right? That's a novation, right? A flip is if it's, hey, if they're looking for under 75, if you're all in is under 75% on the dollar, that's a flip. Does that confuse
Noted.
you?
Yeah, that does. Okay. There's a lot of companies out there. I mean, you guys are a bigger company, so you guys are capable of doing it. But there's a lot of direct to seller marketing companies, whether they're wholesalers, whether they're JV people, whether they flip themselves. But not many of them do their own marketing and flipping, correct? Right? Most people, if they do the marketing, they have to cash out with the wholesale, right? They need to get cash back quick, spend more money marketing, cycle. How come you guys can literally spend $32,000 on marketing and still run the play of flipping, which takes time to get cash? Like, what is the disconnect most people see that you guys have, where you guys are capable of running that play?
We found someone with money. We found someone with money, right? That sees the vision and sees the money that comes back from it, right? Well, that's the best thing, right? Like if you can find an investor and give them an equity share, and all they do is make
Mm.
money, I'd take that any day, right? I'd rather do that over a credit line, right? Or you can do the best case scenario is finding someone with a credit line, right? That defers all their payments until the business is twice as much positive as what they're owed, right? If that business is net positive twice as much as they're also, let's say if they're owed $50,000 and the business is net $100,000, or 150,000 bucks, right? That's perfect, right? Where interest is not
Yep.
accumulating till that point. You know what I mean? Like something
Right.
like that, right? Someone with a credit line, it's not asking you to pay a month to month where it's like, okay, wait till the business is up and running, right? And you're making X amount, then I get my cash out. They keep their equity in, and you could slowly, phase them out of the business, right? You could do that as well, right? But I like having someone, a silent partner, right, who is in the mix because one, he has experience. Second, right, that person is investing into that business as well, and wants and needs to make sure that it's successful.
And when you say business, you're talking about a property, correct?
No, I'm saying the business, like MJY, right? That's how we got our
Interesting.
MJY started.
Okay.
Yeah, we found someone that had a similar mindset. I was like, let's do it. You know what I mean? And we got him into the business. He's still a partner. He still has his percentage of equity into the business. He has leveled us up way faster than anybody can imagine. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it was night and day. Like if Jay and I just did it by ourselves, we wouldn't be where we are right now. No way. No way. No way. You know what I mean? But with that silent
Wow.
partner in the mix, dude, skyrocketing.
That's insane. I didn't even know about that. That's huge. I have yet to hear many real estate companies have that layout, have that structure, and you guys having it. God bless you guys. That's amazing. Can you just walk with us through like a 30-second masterclass of what that looks like? So you're talking about, let's say you started a brand new business, just like baby steps, kindergarten math type, because like I want this to paint the picture for other people to think about as they're listening.
So the way we did it, I'll say how we did it, right? Because maybe that's a better way, right? The way we did it is we started off small and we targeted areas where mega investors that buy homes, right, for homes and for flip purposes, right, are purchasing for top dollar, right? And our vehicle was novation, right? So we would sign them on the contract, we told them we put it on the market, and we would put it on the market, and those investors would see it, right? And they would call us right away as soon as it hits the market, right? And once you sell 2 or 3 properties to that investor, right, tell them like, hey, I want you to be our primary investor in the state, right?
Mm.
We're going to send you everything first before it hits the market, right? And you sell them another 3. And then when it gets to the point, be like, hey, you ever thought about having a team that gets you those deals, right? Where you're not having to pay that enormous of a fee? And then kind of have that conversation. Someone will say yes because it's super advantageous to have that person, right? Once that person says yes, put together a business plan to show them what the potential revenue is over the next 12 months, right? If it's operated at scale, right, with a marketing budget, right? Show them where that marketing budget will go. Show them where the soft costs are, where the hard costs are, what will make the business money, what is a plan to get to the business to that next level, and what is needed, right? And then tell them, be like, hey, I know this is a lot. This is what I can offer you, right? I can offer you X amount of equity into the business, and you have the right refusal for the first 48 hours of us having that deal, right? And then if you decide to partner up with us on it, right, you get a third of that deal. All you have to do is fund it, right? So now you get into the flip game as well, right? And you're able to expand so much more. That's how I got into the flip game, right? It's just like, it was strictly wholesales and innovations. I was like, hey, well, we're putting so much money on the table. Why not flip it together? Oh, that makes sense. Why don't we go we'll do 3 ways. Okay. To him, it's fantastic because he just doubled his margins from the equity that he's making on MJY. So now he's making percentage on MJY, and now he's also making a 33%, right, on the flip itself by only just funding the business, by only funding the flip. So there's so many ways to go about it, but that's the structure that we use, and it makes so much sense to work.
So valuable. So valuable. Bro, thank you so much for joining us. This was huge. I truly believe we have to have another conversation. I didn't even get through all the topics I wanted to get through, but we are going to cut it off. Moody, where do people find you? And do you have a contact for them to hit you up if they want to do JV deals or anything in that Connecticut Northeast area? How do people reach out to you?
Yeah. Phone number 203-631-3666. Email mhassan at sell the number 2 mjy.com, or my Instagram Hassan M9598. Reach out to me over on those 3 platforms. I'd be more than happy to jump on the phone. Information is free. I always like to share.
Let's freaking go. Guys, you heard it from Moody and his team at MJY and Associates. They're absolutely dominating. Brother, thank you for joining us. Guys, next time you guys see the Conner Rueca Show, you guys are going to see another operator, another person that sells a service in the real estate game. That's a true player. And thank you guys for joining us. Send this to a friend if it helped you. See ya.